Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening up a topic that usually comes with a lot of secrecy or maybe just a lot of awkward silence. We are looking at Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson.
Yeah, and before anyone tenses up, let's be really clear about what we're doing here.
Okay.
We are moving right past any moral arguments. We're not here to talk about ethics. This is strictly about the mechanics under the hood.
The neuroscience.
Exactly. Neuroscience, addiction, and how our environment physically, shapes the brain.
The whole premise is just fascinating because it frames it as a hardware problem almost. Like we have these ancient brains designed for the savannah that are getting hijacked by modern tech.
That's the perfect way to put it. And to really get why that happens, you have to start with something called the Coolidge effect.
Right, the drive for novelty.
It's this biological thing in almost all mammals. You put a male rat with a female, and eventually he gets bored, stops mating. But if you introduce a new female,
He's suddenly interested again.
instantly revitalized, his brain is screaming, "New genetic opportunity!"
And that's what internet porn taps into.
It exploits it. It acts as what the ethologist Nicholas Tinbergen called a supernormal stimulus. He saw male beetles trying to mate with beer bottles instead of female beetles.
Because they were bigger and shinier.
Bigger, shinier, curvier. To the beetle's brain, the bottle was a super female.
So, we're the Beatles, humping the beer bottle.
In a way, yeah. We've tricked our own evolution, and it's not like a magazine from 50 years ago.
No.
Streaming video gives you unlimited novelty. You can click from scene to scene in seconds. You are hitting your reward system with more novelty in 10 minutes than your ancestors saw in a lifetime.
And the brain just doesn't have an off switch for that. It sees it as an evolutionary jackpot, so it triggers a binge.
And dopamine is the key chemical here. But the thing to remember is dopamine isn't just pleasure.
It's the seeking chemical.
It's the seeking system, the drive that says, go get it. And when you chronically overstimulate that system, the brain, well, it has to adapt to protect itself.
This is that idea, nerve cells that fire together, wire together.
Exactly. The first thing it does is desensitization. It's getting hit with so much dopamine that it literally starts removing dopamine receptors to dampen the noise.
Just turns the volume knob way down.
It does, and that leads to a numb pleasure response. You might lack motivation, or you find you need more and more extreme content just to feel, normal.
Okay, so pleasure goes down,
Yeah.
but the craving gets stronger. How does that work?
That's the sensitization part. And it's partly down to a protein called delta FOSB.
Delta FOSB.
Yeah. It's less like a switch and more like a fossil record of the addiction. Dopamine flushes out pretty quick, but delta FOSB builds up in the reward circuit and it sticks around for weeks, even months.
So it's physically changing the brain to keep that craving alive.
It physically alters the pathways,
Yeah.
and that alteration leads to some really serious real-world symptoms.
Like what the book calls PIE, porn-induced erectile dysfunction.
And researchers are seeing this in young, healthy men. It's not a physiological problem, not a plumbing issue.
It's a wiring problem.
It's a wiring problem. Their brains have been conditioned to need that supernormal stimulus, the novelty, the shock, the constant clicking to get aroused. A real person with all the, slowness and connection that requires.
It just doesn't deliver that same erratic dopamine spike.
Exactly. And that disconnect shows up as social anxiety, brain fog, all of it. Real life just feels too low def.
And for people trying to quit, there's the flat line.
Which can be terrifying. It's a withdrawal symptom where your libido just drops to zero. The brain is trying to recalibrate, but for a while, everything just shuts down.
Okay, but hold on. If the brain can physically change to get into this mess, doesn't that mean it can change to get out?
That is the beautiful flip side of neuroplasticity. The changes are reversible.
So it's not permanent.
Not at all. If you remove the supernormal stimulus, if you stop, the brain eventually notices the noise is gone.
It starts turning the volume knob back up.
Precisely. It regrows those receptors. People who reboot report getting their superpowers back, confidence, focus, energy. But really, it's just the brain returning to its factory settings.
This is just normal.
Yeah.
Restoring its sensitivity to natural rewards.
It's incredible, really.
It really is just that simple mismatch, isn't it? Modern software on ancient hardware. Our reward systems were just never built for a world where every desire is one click away.
Which leaves us with a much bigger question. If the old saying is true that what we attend to is what we become,
Yeah.
how might all the other supernormal digital habits out there be shaping our preferences, our patience, in the real world?
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.